Hey, how's it going? I got some pyrography to do today. I did my test piece yesterday. Seemed to go out alright. Uh, Probably a little bit more pinker than I'd like, but I'll go over that and touch it up a little bit later. Um, this is the Red Bowl, nice thin one that I did. I don't know. Whenever I do, I don't remember when I did it, doesn't matter. But when I sand the tenon off, I'm just going to touch up the bits there that never got any colour on them. And I did have intention of going around, right around the rim, but on the outside, making a black burn line, but I don't know at the moment. I might just leave it for now. So what I'm just going to do, probably do this tree first, just because it's like I've got these hills in the background. I'm not really too sure if you can even see that. The hills in the background going that way. And I've got a sun going right across the back there. So I want to try and maybe get some green into the grass there. Yeah. I'm gonna experiment and try a little bit of green, maybe just on one of these branches here, and see what it looks like as a leaf green. I mean, so I've mixed up. I've got all the colours I need. I should be right. Hopefully, I don't have to get up and down like I can normally do. Let's get this thing done. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the iron bark 2 doors down from us got chopped down. Right. Got all the branches chopped off, but they left the trunk at the height, at its 20-30 foot or whatever. So now the local magpies, which you can hear in the background, don't actually have anywhere to rest at the moment. So make things interesting for them. They have to now get to rest on the roof. I mean, they didn't really rest in our roof. It wasn't really their thing. I mean, in our tree, that fig tree, they didn't really go into that too much. But they love the native plants, iron barks. There's a couple of really big ghost gums. 50, 60 feet easy, just over the houses behind us, just kind of over that way. They love that tree. Kookaburras are in that tree too. I'm just fiddling around with a bit of wire. This piece is a little bit thinner. It's probably the thinnest piece that I've got in here at the moment. Just want to try and get maybe a thinner piece to try and start this off and not be so blotchy. Because I noticed a lot of pyro from yesterday was a bit more blotchy than I would normally have done. I'll just try and make up something a little bit. Keep in mind that the wire has to be the same length. I'm trying to tell myself that. too long of a tip now, isn't it? Hey, Chris, how are you? I'm trying my darndest to try and not have to get up and get something, but I'm gonna have to in a minute. Thought if I could get myself set up here and not have to move, that'd be good. That's not gonna work, I don't think. Might do. That's good, dear. Yeah, it's not too bad here at the moment, Chris. It's about 25 today, I think. Nice day. Has it been snowing much of the day? Hey, going, Dell? No ginger nuts. Nah. Sorry. It's a mocker anyway. How you going, Bob? How are you?
Greetings.
I'm just going to pop you down to the smaller screen there. How's your day been?
One, two. You hear me? Now, why
Yes.
not?
Yeah.
Why? 1, 2. Why is it?
Yeah,
When I
we
do
can
it,
we
it
can
works.
hear you.
Speakerphone.
Speakerphone.
Okay, can
On.
you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been tinkering with my software here on my new tablet, and when I use my Bluetooth, for some reason it shows up as a speakerphone,
Okay.
and I wouldn't have thought that, but it did. So how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, and how about yourself?
Oh, well, feeling a lot better. Now I got home and was able to get into the routines that I was used to. I feel a lot better.
Yep. Okay.
Though I've been watching you when you do your lives at night where I was and kept trying to get in, but I don't know what the network wouldn't allow me to do it there. When it did, I couldn't get audio and it messed it all up. So I've got that all worked out now.
Maybe not enough bandwidth there. Maybe.
That could have been because I won't say my sister's a cheapskate, but she gets a decent package, except that it's one router and it's on the top floor of a, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-floor house.
Okay.
And the bottom two are on the side of a hill. One of them is, and the one under that is actually dug down into the side of the hill. It was a safe house when it was made. It was called a safe room.
Yep.
The people that built the house were paranoid.
Was that the basement bit that you were in a couple of times?
Yeah, when in a room you can go to and lock it. At one time it had a big door, that could be sealed from the inside.
Okay.
A panic room, I think they call it. It's polite, if you know what that is, or
Yes.
have heard of them.
Yep.
The
Hello,
previous
Joy.
owners of
Yeah. Maybe they had some rat bag kids. Thought they'd be good in there, you know?
well, I understood that they were part of a diplomatic, where it was built in the whole complex, like 6 homes in one area, was part of a area that was built up for uh, diplomatic families from some embassy or consulate where they had worked, but there wasn't room in DC itself. It's, if you're in the embassies there, but if you're support, you can live anywhere else where you want. But there was a whole group of homes that were built in this project that were just for them at the time. That was
Yep.
years ago. So I can
Okay.
understand it would be a safe room.
Yep.
And then the people that had it had another embassy and they had more room and whatever, but no one quite knows what happened, but it ended up on the market. And they're the third person to have it. But it's
Okay.
interesting. A big built-in jacuzzi and a big swimming pool in the backyard on the side of a hill. So,
Sounds big. Sounds like I've fit about 4 or 5 of my houses in it.
well, they all had the same type safe room. And big 2-car garages, they were really nice homes. All I can tell you is that after they had been sold to a second party, and this is quite a few years ago, and then built and then sold where my sister got one. It was
You got it?
whoever did the repainting, and when they paint, they take off all the outlet covers and they put new outlets in, and make it look nice. And then they put in all their switches. And when they moved in, it was a effing mess because when you have 4 stories, you have one staircase that basically starts at the top, comes down to the next layer, makes a 180-degree turn and goes down again, the same thing back and forth to go all the way down. They had it so screwed up in wiring. It's supposed to be you can turn it on anywhere and turn it off at any switch. And the people who did it had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it drove my sister crazy. And I remember when I looked at it and took the cover plate, they put new receptacles and switches in, and they put the wrong switches in. They're supposed to be what they call 4-way switches, 3-way at top and bottom, and then the rest are these 4 connectors on them. And they didn't have any of that. I went through and wired it up right, and it worked. But that was one of the problems. They were told they probably needed a master electrician to come in and rewire the lighting. So that knocked down the price tremendously. That wasn't it. It was they didn't know what they were doing.
Sure. How you going, Rex? How are you? Rex has a question for you in the chat too, Bob.
Well, let me see if I can get. Oh, okay. I've never used chat on this with. Oh, urns. Probably the what's the best wood to use for an urn? And I have over the years turned a little over 1,000.
Wow.
Uh, and to me, the best wood is a piece of wood that has sentimental values to the people who are going to keep it and have the ashes. I started turning urns because a friend of mine, neighbor in Gulf War One, son died, and back then they had to, if you were blown up in combat in jeeps, there were all landmines is what caused a lot of deaths in Gulf War One. You couldn't pick who was who out of pieces if you're in a big Hummer. So they sent back ashes, but there was no way of saying whose ashes is whose. But they didn't tell people that. But there's nothing else they could do. And they were following standard protocol from World War II. What I got was the neighbor that asked me to turn it had a tree in their yard where their son and his wife, when they were teenagers, had carved a big heart with the names in the tree. And that piece of wood to them was very valuable, and it sat on a porch in the backyard, just up on the railing. They had cut the tree down because it was bad, and they saved that. And I used that piece of wood, I turned it off center, so where the carving was very obvious. And then I simply, and it was probably, if I remember right, it was oak. And I put that together and did my first urn for other than a pet out of the wood. Because the wood had sentiment, and that's what meant more to them to have that either resting spot for their son. So if you can find a piece of wood or from a tree, come on, Guy, let Riley go outside.
He didn't want. Well, he went outside with me, but. And when I went inside,
Come on,
Sometimes sometimes we can't even hear you over the dog. Well,
have a tiny little one.
Yeah, I got get the dog in the backyard or outside, please.
Yeah.
Good, they're gone.
You come with me. Well, I'm gonna bring the dog with me to the gas station.
You can't take the dog in with you.
Yeah.
Just wait. So, as I said, they urn the wood to make it out of it. There's a wood that is special, a tree, because don't forget, it's a remembrance. That's all an urn is a remembrance. And for the people and their family. So, what I have found when I do it, when people ask, is to get a piece of wood, because even if it's punky, you can epoxy it, you can seal it. You're not making a display piece to go on a shelf to say this is worth $700 or $1,000 or $2,000 piece of wood in my work. It's a remembrance of something that was important. Another example, and I have turned 4 of them so far, are turned that look like a flower pot, just an old flower pot, the old-fashioned sides with the lip on the top. And I have turned that because I had an individual who had, the husband had a big rose garden, and the family was gone. They were off to college and moved away, but they still had one kid left at home. And the wife had me turn an urn for one of the kids that had passed away in a car accident. So the kid that did it was a kid that was active in maintaining the rose garden. And it was, quote, their father and mother's rose garden. So their request was they'd like to have something to help remember the rose garden. Well, being a weird person, I turned a big, it looked like a terracotta, the typical red terracotta pots, except, well, I had to make two because I learned the hard way. The bottom was right. There was no problem. The base part, I had a disc I put in, epoxied in with a bung hole so you could put the ashes in it, and then they could put flowers on top of it. And they could sit that anywhere they wanted. It could be roses, but I didn't make the lip on top wide enough or deep enough because I don't do flowers in pots. So what I had to do, I turned a second one. We hadn't transferred anything yet. Turned a second one, but this time I made the top 4 or 5 inches high. Where the pot goes straight around the top. And to make it look right, I had to make it deeper. But that didn't matter. Though I had to put, here again, not thinking, I had to put lead weights in the bottom of the pot before the ashes went in to give it more weight. I should have made the bottom thicker. But the problem was if you got flowers stuck in the top or someone planting something in the top of this, the wind can hit it and knock it over. So I made the top bigger and I used gray or the green Potter's foam that they put in there, like styrofoam. And florists use it all the time and put it in, and of course it had the disc that sealed the ashes with a bung hole that had a plug that could be popped out with a chisel because it was set in there in super glue. Because the wife, when they moved, the whole idea for this is they were moving and they were going to live in their other house, summer house that they had by a lake, and sell the big house, of which they did after he passed away. But all they had to do was take the flower pot, and he was planted under his rose garden. That was his wish in the will, that he be planted on his ashes spread on his rose garden. Well, the ashes were in the bottom of the pot. When they moved to their summer house and the other kid graduated from university and had moved out, to live on herself, it was just the mother and an aunt that lived together, and they had this big 8-bedroom house. They sold it, but they also picked up in all the roses from the rose garden. They had a professional gardener pick up and move. And then when they moved to the new house that they were moving to, they pulled the bung out, the pot, and they decided, well, we'll let him just sit in the pot, and they buried the wood pot and all because it would decay itself. And because of stuff like that, I've had a lot of people ask for some very odd stuff to turn urns in. If you're turning them for sale, you can't beat what the Chinese do it for on their CNC machines, so you'll never make a lot of money. Because they're all CNC turned, and they can. I have a friend of mine, well, since COVID, he's passed away because he was a non-masker, but was about 4 streets over from where I lived, and he sold mortuary supplies. That was his company. And he could get them from China so much cheaper and quicker that I couldn't compete. So it wasn't an item to compete. I simply did it for vets and did it through VA, VFW. Whenever they needed an urn, I would get an email and I would put them together and ship them out. But I'd always ask the question first, is there something of meaning where it's going? And minimum of all, I would find out what branch of the service, and I had branch medallions that I would put in the side of the urn. They were cheap, about $5, but I didn't. When you buy them by, a dozen at a time or 100 at a time, like at one time it brought them down to $7.50 a piece. So a piece of wood and that's what went out, and I didn't know where they. All I knew was a VFW post somewhere that asked
Hey,
for
Goldberg.
it.
Sorry.
So if you're turning them sentimentally, because that's what it's about, is sentiment. It's nice to know information about the person. In this case, it's a very sentimental thing. Then the resting place should be where something that means something to you and to them. I've even had an old rocking chair, wood from an old rocking chair that I was able to glue up thicknesses of, and that made the bottom half of one. And it looked weird, but that's what it looked. It looked like something that was maybe in the 1800s in the barn, wood, stuff like that, and as a glue up. And I just left it with nail holes and all, but backfilled with black epoxy. And it's not something you'd find in a catalog anywhere, but it's what they wanted. Does that help you, Annie?
I don't think I can taste the mint.
Is that pyography you're doing, Jay?
Yeah, it is, Bob.
So-
I just heard a ruckus out the front. I'm just going to go and have a look. I'll be back in a sec.
Okay.
What are you trying to do? Buy me off? I'm gonna go to the grocery Spencer. Oh, my favorite place to die.
Yesterday, they 2 doors down had their 50-foot
whose room?
iron. Yeah, they had their ironbark tree chopped
Yeah.
down yesterday. So all as they had done, they had all the main branches cut off, and then there was a bit of a crutch left, about a 15-foot crutch was left at the top with a trunk. They left that, and they did the job, and now there's more people come back, and they've got a semi-trailer parked out the front of my house, and a crane and everything. I think they're chopping the whole trunk off in one go and taking it like that. Hey?
You ought to get them to cut the crotch off. That's beautiful wood to work with. You know
That's,
that because you've taught me that.
Yeah, it's too rock hard at the moment, Bob. I've got all that really nice fig at the moment, so I'm kind of not really that worried about it. I don't have the room for it either.
Not if they cut it up. If they're going to cut it up and have the saws, you could have it cut up and, it's
Oh no, what's
a 3-foot piece.
There's about a 25-foot piece left, and that's where the crutch is at the top, but it's massive. I'm really not interested in it. I'm just weirded out the way they're doing it. It's like they've got this crane is coming out and grabbing the about a quarter of the way down, and that's actually fixed to the back of the semi-trailer, the crane. And then they're chopping it up, and then they're chopping it off at the bottom, and this crane's just going to pick it up and lay it down on the bed of the semi-trailer. How tricky is that?
Yep, they're saving the wood for some reason.
Yeah, tabletops most probably.
You don't bring a crane truck out that way to do that unless someone wants it.
No. So I might can this live and start another one out the front on my tablet.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to watch. I'll pick up on it. I've got to go somewhere real quick. Brendan's got the coat on waiting for me to go with him to walk up to the quickie store.
The Quickie Mart. What's a Quickie?
So you do that, send me a link. I'll wander out with them.
I'll put it in the group chat.
Alrighty. Catch you then.
No, I wouldn't bother Rex, to be quite honest. It's not worth it. Yeah, I'll go live out there anyway. Mike will be about like 5 or 10 minutes, all right?